Alright guys, welcome back to part 2 of the world's fastest electric mountain bike. As I said before in the first video, I don't know if this is definitely going to be the world's fastest electric mountain bike, but all the other fast mountain bikes I've seen have either been riding off the face of a cliff using gravity, being towed by a car, or otherwise. I want to make a bike that's not had any major frame modifications, no major modifications to the actual sort of drive components of the bike. So I've got a standard WESBSITE, I think this is, behind me. For those of you that saw part 1, if you haven't, go back and watch that. I've been getting a few more parts together because I want to get this on the ground and rolling on the correct tyres and drivetrain, and then we'll be on to like the final wiring and setting up of this massive Kelly controller. So since the last video I haven't filmed it, but I fitted these semi-slick smooth tyres just to sort of remove a bit of the rolling resistance. I was looking for Maxxis hookworms or something like that. The thing is with mountain bike tyres, you don't actually get a speed rating like motorbike or cars, because mountain bikes don't generally tend to do 60, 70 plus miles an hour. Basically the tyres I've gone for are Schwalbe super motocross tyres, they're called. They're kind of slick, but they're not like skinny hybrid tyres, they're still quite chunky. I think they're like 2.4 or something, or 2.2 at least. So I've got the new tyres on it. Right, I'm going to talk you through some of the bits that I've had done. Right, starting off with this massive beast that obviously I showed you in the previous video. As I said, fitted a brand new semi-slick tyre. Another slight modification I've done to it is these phase cables had connectors that didn't fit the terminals of the Kelly controller. They're so big that I've ended up having to have new terminals soldered onto this and crimped on. Also, whilst I was there, I've taken about 10 inches off of the phase cables just to kind of maximise the efficiency of it and sort of limit the chance of losing power or gaining heat or everything. So the shorter the cable, the better. I've had the phase cable shortened and bigger terminals put on. Also, whilst we're talking about the wheel, decided to actually bother fitting some kind of cooling system. So I've got some state arrayed ferro fluid, which I'm going to be fitting first this morning, and some cooling things, thermal paste. I'm going to go through it anyway in the video, roughly what I'm doing, but I want to put some kind of cooling features on the wheel so it doesn't overheat. Not forgetting the JB Weld sealer for when I've put the wheel back together, because we're going to be taking the hub wheel apart this morning and hopefully fitting it permanently to the bike. Made my own cardboard template tool arm and then took it to a metal fabricator type blokey. Thanks to Kinsey Fabrications for knocking together some custom tool arms. We don't know if they're going to fit yet, they might need a bit of drilling out or whatever. Obviously doing it from a Kellogg's cornflake packet. We'll see how well they fit. The whole back wheel should be sorted and on the bike today, and then I've got my friend Matt with me today helping. We're going to be turning this dual speed or twin speed front chain wheel into a single speed. I've got a brand new orange chain to go with the bike, shorter 165 crank arms. And one more thing, all of this cost me a flipping fortune. So what we've got here is a series harness cable, I think made from 6AWG silicon cables, to run my 126 volt LiPo battery. Because the batteries have got XT90s, they didn't want to cut the ends off the XT90s, which I'm worried about running anywhere between 150 and 300 amps on it. So we've had to stick with standard XT90s across 4 of the batteries, and on the final one we've got this connector which should run up to 500 amps, and it's got anti-spark properties. So on the final 5th series connection on the battery, we've got a 500 amp anti-spark plug. On the bike end of the connection, we've got a 500 amp anti-spark. This is going to be in a battery backpack, so it's just going to be this cable hanging out. And then that will plug into the female, or male, whatever the other end is. And then that will go to the controller. Again, I've got the large aluminium terminals. Aluminium's meant to be slightly better at kind of conductivity. And for the one battery that is using the 500 amp, I've got a tiny little cable for charging it to turn it back into an XT90. I don't know if I said XT60 before, but I meant XT90 if I did. And that, yeah. So enough waffling, we're going to get straight into it. I'm going to start taking the hub wheel apart for the first time and trying to put state arrayed ferro fluid in it and cooling fans and all that. So let's just get straight into it. Right, I'm just undoing all the bolts around this motor. I'm pretty certain this is the side that I see most people remove to do this stator-aid ferrofluid. I do see some people drilling into a certain spot on the casing and then taping it up afterwards, and I don't really like the idea of leaving a hole in an expensive motor. So I'm going to do it properly and actually remove the cover. This is the world's first on Dude Stuff, me doing something properly. Lid off before, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it. I don't want to scratch it a bit, so I was thinking of using a tyre lever, but this may not work. Shock it with a hammer. I'm running out of ideas other than getting a big strong screwdriver in there and wedging it open, but I think I can feel the lip there a bit. You can see it's got kind of sealing gasket on it, which I'm going to have to reapply, but I don't know how to get this off. Right, we've had a little search on Google, and although that is the other side where the single speed gear is the side we want to remove, it's this side that you've got to undo, which made no sense to me whatsoever. I thought undoing that side is the side I want to get to, but apparently you have to undo this side by the looks of it. I'm not sure if you have to remove the brake rotor, we're about to find out. I've got to remove all the bolts this side now, and then bang the axle on tap the axle on a block of wood or something. Honestly, I don't know whether at this stage just to put the thing is with this stator-aid ferrofluid, it's actually magnetic, and it's almost like the film Terminator where you got that liquid policeman that just, it literally, because the thing is you can do this by just drilling a hole in the casing, but at this stage I've got a big gap and I'm not sure why it won't come apart. I'm going to give it a couple more goes. If that don't work, I'm just going to squirt the fluid in and it will just stick to the magnet. Ah, she's out. She is finally out. Taking the screws out from the brake this side, and then I was banging it on this bit of garden decking, and the axle's just digging into it and it weren't coming out. So the trick to it was, I didn't want to use metal, but I spoke to the e-bike supplier out in China who do the QS motors, and they said use a bit of steel or concrete. I didn't want to bash my garden floor up, so I went down the steel supplier at the end of my road and got a little plate of steel, put it in there, gave it a bang off camera, and it's just popped out. So now I can get in there, clean up all this old gasket stuff, do it properly, get the ferrofluid in it properly, get all the blue stuff out, clean that all up nicely before putting it back together. Right guys, everything's cleaned up the best we can get it, which is good enough. I'm now gonna, this plate shouldn't have even come off this side, but that was part of the learning curve. So I'm gonna run a bead of sealant around here, place this back on, then we're going to put the bolts on with some bolt lock thread, so it's all done proper. I would say that's got the whole thing covered. Pop the lid back on that. Oh, it suddenly turned stormy. I have to take this inside and finish it. We've got the backing plate on and time to bring out the Terminator liquid. This stuff will just automatically stick to it from magnetic power. Bit of alcohol spray, it's not going to leave any greasy residue, just to get the gasket sealer off the magnets as much as possible. Right, so give this a little shake just in case. Right, I'm going to start by just going between the gaps. Look at that, wow, didn't even squeeze it, it's just pulling it out of the bottle. Crazy. Don't even know if we need any more on that. I'm not measuring this or anything. Whoa. It actually pulls, look.
That's mad.
It's crazy. Crazy, crazy. Not even sucking it out of the bottle. Good idea for Ann Summers. Self-sucking fluid. I reckon that's probably enough, isn't it? I don't want to go crazy, but I'd say that's probably enough. That is the entire bottle's contents, guys. Oh my god, jeez, do you want to pick this up with one hand? I don't think I'm going to get that bolt in first. Ah! Shit. I thought that was blood then. Ah! That is seriously dangerous.
That's the magnet.
Yeah, that'd be the magnet. Whether the holes have lined up is another thing. Now I can't see the holes through paste, and I'm not sure if I can turn it. We're doing well here, guys. Oh my god.
Is it working?
I've got a bite now. Right guys, we are on to the final stage of what we need to fit to the wheel before cooling it. So this is a cooling fin package for the QS205 motor. You get these 6 heat sinks which bolt together and go around the wheel in a circular pattern. And then you get a tube of thermal paste which you put a line down here. And it's no different to anyone who's built a PC for what you put on the CPU. It just helps disperse the heat out of the motor through these cooling fins. Right, so what I can tell is, it's very fiddly getting in between the spokes and doing these. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to connect 2 or possibly 3 of these together first, put a bead in a thermal paste down and kind of dangle it. Going to kind of get it into the spokes as one 3-piece. Now you're meant to get the tension right with a bolt, so I'm not sure how this is going to work. It's not hard, it's just incredibly fiddly, so I'm just going to put this together with the bolts. I'm not going to screw it up all the way, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap. Let's have a look how 3 of them look loosely bolted together. That's the general idea. Where's the one? That one's a little bit bent on the end there, but can bend it back with a screwdriver quick. But I'm going to tighten these bolts and nuts up a little bit. Going to tighten these up a little bit, run some thermal paste on and try getting it onto the wheel and then try and fit the other 3. Right, so what we're doing guys is we've put 2 sets of 3 on and we're adjusting it before putting thermal paste on so we don't end up with carnage. Right guys, I've got the thermal paste there. Just going to try doing a bead down the middle. It's easier than doing a bead in the centre of the wheel and then trying to get this to line up. It's going to be, in my mind, it's going to be a lot less messy. Right guys, that was more of a mission than I thought. It is now all done. We've got ferrofluid on the magnets inside the motor. We didn't drill any holes. You can drill holes, but I just wanted to avoid having a hole in the casing of the motor. So it's all sealed, high temperature, gasket sealer, silicone paste. That's all the red around here. I'm not too worried about the excess because this bike's more about function than aesthetics. Thermal paste is on. I'm going to take it in so you can see a closer look. So we've got the cooling fins all the way round tightened up, that's not moving. I ain't gonna lie, that weren't fun. That was not fun, but good job done. So the wheel's got maximum cooling it's gonna get. I've shortened the phase cables, or I've had some guys shorten the phase cables, change the ring terminals. This wheel is now ready to go back on the bike, and then hopefully we can get the chain on and the torque arms, so on to the next stage. Right guys, unfortunately we've come across a couple of pitfalls. This chain is going to need a chain tensioner, which we don't have. It doesn't do half links, so I've ordered a chain tensioner to arrive tomorrow. Also the chain tool, the chain breaker tool is actually broken, so I've ordered a new better quality chain tool, so hopefully that'll all be done tomorrow. But the back wheel's all on. We have had one other problem as well. The torque arm, this slot here is just a little bit too tight to go over the axle, so these are the torque arms I've got. These are the torque arms I've got, and this slot is just a little bit too tight, so I need to get them machined out as well. For now the wheel's on tight. All the cooling is taken care of in the wheel, which was like the hard parts, and now I just need to have a little fettle with a chain. You can see how the chain looks on the bike. It does look pretty nice. It's only a cheap chain, but it looks kind of cool in an orange colour coded colour. Not too worried about function as long as it doesn't fall off, because this thing's powered by the hub motor. We're not really using the pedals very much at all, so I'm not too concerned. So single speed on order, chain tool is on order. and I need to take these back to the fabricators or get a file and a vise to fold these at. Because my workshop's not finished yet, I don't actually have a vise, so I'll figure out a way to get these bored out. Then we're on to doing the electrics, which will be hopefully the fun part of getting this thing actually working and figuring out. I've never done one of these controllers before. Apparently you need like a 12-volt ignition system and everything, but the bike is actually coming together now. The back wheel's in and rolling. We just need to sort the chain situation out, and then hopefully onto the fun stuff of finishing up the electronics. So hope you enjoyed this video, guys. We'll speak to you in a video soon. Take it easy. What? Yeah. All done.